Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. We're just after this full moon of the last few days, and this full moon in Aquarius. And I just feel like I need to sit down and just talk to y'all. I've been absent for about 4 weeks. And by the way, my name's Leanne Moody, and I have a YouTube channel. It's called 1,000 Faces with Leanne Moody. And if you like what I'm talking about today, or you want to hear more, I'd love it if you could at least like this video and also just subscribe to my channel so that we can keep putting out more content. It seems kind of crazy to have to say all that in the beginning, but I'm being trained to do it, so I will when I just want to sit down and speak straight from my heart. So I'm just going to jump right in. I have been missing from making videos for about 4 weeks. Had a really close colleague and friend come clean about her health issues over the last several months with me and me privately. And as that took place, a bunch of things evolved, and this last month was spent getting her into the proper care and then supporting her in her passing. And and then me having to regroup after all that and go through my own emotional experiences around it. So I don't know that I'll talk about that today. If it happens, it will. I'm just letting Spirit tell me what needs to be said, my soul guide me. I have to tell you, I've done intuitive work now for over 30 years. It was not something that I went seeking, it found me. And astrologically, numerology, all of it has supported this experience that I'm having, or the experiences I'm having all along. So it's been more that I apparently have a pretty acute ability to work with many realms and to communicate with a lot of different forms of life and beyond human. And it's been a real struggle for me because I did care too much what people thought, and I've spent a lot of time running in fear that somehow I would be deeply hurt and penalized if people really knew what I was up to and what was happening with me. Besides the fact that I'm a mom and I've been a wife, and I've been, had my jobs and all these things and taking care of myself and my life. This has been the cornerstone of who I am. This is it. So with that said, in the last year and a half, I made a decision to regroup around how I am showing up in the world. And basically, it's kind of tuned into no more hiding. There's so many different narratives out there that are coming at you, including people in my life who don't necessarily believe that what's happening to me is, or have a bandwidth to really grasp the fact that this is real. I'm not making this up. So with that said, I'm going to talk a little bit today about a couple of different issues. I've said that. So see, I'm still kind of trying to scoot around what I want to say. Probably because there's more things I want to say. It's hard for me to land on the right way to go into things. But this is what I want to talk about today. And what I want to talk about today is Ascension. And I've got notes here, so they're fluttering, sorry. Ascension has been a word I've been hearing for my entire life, and it's taken all different forms, from religious to spiritual to consciousness, all of these things. And then we talk about dimensions, and so there's these dimensions of information and energy and existence. I call it consciousness, levels of consciousness. So in that framework, we have created this mindset, because we are linear thinkers, as the human being is typically a linear thinker, not all of them, but that consciousness typically is. And so I came to a conclusion a long time ago that there was many streams of consciousness as there are hairs on my head or leaves on the trees. So, and forgive me, I'm trying to find a quiet space to work these days, and now I'm out by the airport. The point being that streams of consciousness are flowing all day long. So we have victim consciousness, we have wealth consciousness, we have poverty consciousness, we have all kinds of levels of icky types of consciousness and joyful types of consciousness, and it's all real. Christ consciousness. It's all real in our particular reality, okay? One of the things that I have heard a lot about it's been coming up all along, since as long as I've been on this planet, but it's coming up more these days in conversations with people that are truly very heightened individuals in their thoughts about consciousness. And a lot of them are different ages, 30s, 40s, 20s, that kind of thing. But what I keep hearing are the levels of consciousness, the ascension stuff, okay? Meaning we're moving like this. And I go back to, and this just came in really strong for me in the last couple of months, but it came in really strong in the last day even, that I need to talk about this. That, 30 years ago when my actual soul journey started to kick in, which would have been my first Saturn return, I had all kinds of experiences I didn't expect to have. I was with the Shaman for almost 2 years. Her name was Julie. I still feel so much gratitude to her. I wound up in a yoga class that I didn't know what it was, and the person wasn't revealing what it was. She just kept saying, don't worry, you're exactly where you need to be. And now I know she had been a Kundalini person who literally followed Yogi Bhajan, but had left the Kundalini world and was mixing yogas up. So I was having all these incredibly powerful intersecting experiences with her. All of it seeming like it happened by accident to me, except that I would have moments where I'd go, oh my God, I feel like I found it. Whatever this is I've been looking for, I feel like I found it. Now, up until that time, I would have described myself as someone who felt like she was in a car with the gear in park, engine turned on, and literally the gas pushed to the floorboard, so that it was revved completely up. And it felt like when I was in my body my whole life, I felt somehow here and like 4 feet in front of myself at the same time. And I was constantly aware that it was an internal battle not to let other people see it. That I was that, and yet still trying to be happy, gregarious Leanne, doing my thing. I had a lot of physical outlets, thank God. In my generation, you cheered. There was, so I was a cheerleader, all those things. But I did that because it gave me an outlet for all of this stuff that was going on. Rough stuff at home, lack of awareness of who I was, confusion about what I was doing here, and yet it just gave me a place to express joy. Okay, so now I'm 30, and I had just been told by a therapist that she thought that I had been experiencing depression since I was a very young child. She said, as in my old friend depression. Well, back in 1990, or whatever that was, yeah, it's been a while, I did not feel comfortable at all with being diagnosed with depression. In fact, I was deeply offended by it because I was such an outgoing person and so loved people and so involved in the world in many ways. But yeah, there were weeks or days at a time where I would feel, when my old friend loneliness would come up on me, that I would feel like for no reason the lonely feeling was happening. And it literally would feel like I was hanging on to a ledge by my fingers and hoping that I didn't fall off the ledge, but also having to work 400 times harder to not let anyone know that that's how I was feeling. I didn't know that I was being debilitated by a level of stress. Until I met someone in my 20s who said, if you do not learn to do TM, you will self-destruct by the time you are 30. And that crazy kooky man took me to his ex-wife, they both studied with the Maharishi, and she taught me transcendental meditation, which did change my life. So now I'm 30 again. I know I keep going back, but I knew this story was going to ramble. Anyway, the piece that gets me is that I'm sitting on the floor with the shaman now. And she is an extremely well-educated woman who was teaching yoga, and I happened to meet her at a function in Atlanta while I had just started teaching yoga. And I had no idea that she had any particular abilities or gifts, and she certainly didn't tell me that. But something did happen. I'll go into that in another story another time, but something happened where she literally was able to tap into something where someone else had diagnosed something that had happened to my body, a broken vertebra. But anyway, she tapped into it without knowing that someone else had already done muscle testing on me and told me they thought that's what it was, but couldn't work on me because we didn't have it the x-rays weren't back. So anyway, so now she tells me from a yoga class some stuff, and she says, I think I can help you with that. I go to see her. She's got like 4 PhDs on the wall. Her husband is a huge academic, successfully academic person in the world and well known in his career. I don't know any of this until then. But I am on a floor in her basement in Dunwoody, Georgia. And it's her office, and she's got a big rug and, Zabatons and things, and I didn't know what those were, the cushions and stuff where you relax and yoga and stuff. And she has me sit on the floor, and we start going over some things. Now, a lot happened around in those first few times I saw her. But then about 4 or 5 days later, sorry, I've got a spider dropped in on me. 4 or 5 times after I started seeing her, she asked me some questions. And I could hear the questions formulating from my guidance team before she asked them. And I'd only just come into a place in the year and a half before that where I was grasping the concept that all this talking to myself was actually being responded to. And it made sense to me in a way that I couldn't explain. That had been going on for about a year and a half. So now I'm on her floor, sitting there, and she asked me, Leanne, she says, your guides want to know why you're not doing your work. And I go, well, I'm teaching yoga. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by why I'm not doing my work. And she says, well, they're asking me to ask you that again. Exactly. Why haven't you started doing your work yet? And I looked at her and I was quiet. I was really still. I'd already gone inside and was connecting. So we were in a full energetic session. And I said, I'm not healed yet. I don't know yet how to help people. And I could hear everything they'd say, and then she would say it. She said, well, that's not exactly how it works here. You start doing the work and working with yourself, and then you naturally, as you experience it, you share what you've learned, and that's how you become both student and teacher student. That's how it rolls out. So we teach what we need to learn was an early phrase that came in, and I still smile about that with everybody I see, especially experts in their fields, because I'm like, well, we teach what we needed to learn or what we learned in order to help. So anyway, that's what a good teacher does. But then the conversation went to what is it that's holding you up? What is the real thing that's holding you up? And I said, I don't even know how to explain this, is what I said. I said, I don't even know how to explain what I'm feeling right now. And I said, and I drew it on a carpet she had with my finger. I drew it on my with my finger. And what I did was, I drew this big circle on her rug, and I said, I feel like I'm there. And there's this giant circle out here. And I'm gonna let that plane go by because of course it's going by right now. Thank you. Go Delta. Anyway, so this is the circle, and this is what I drew this first, and then I said, this is me. I feel like this is me. And something feels like my job, my number one job in this life, there's something I have to do. And it feels like if I don't do it, there's no point in me being alive at all. Like, I just need to leave. And she's like, really? And I said, yes. And I said, what it feels like is I'm here and I'm supposed to get here and I have no idea how to do it. And I started sobbing. And I said, but it feels like getting here is the only thing that matters. Now, I realize there's a whole lot in our lifetime that matters. And having joy, which is what this is about, and being joyful, and also recognizing the duality of being a human being is all part of this. But what has come up lately for me is so many people are talking about these lines ascending, moving, shifting your vibration up, raising your vibration, going up as opposed to going down, lifting each other up as opposed to putting each other down. It's all up and down. And what has really come to roost for me in these last few weeks, especially with my friend Terry passing and a few other people that I love, Rich and Terry and different people, I've had this honest recognition that what are we doing? Because anything that's going up and down dimension-wise implies a level of being ascended or better than, or descended and less than. It's a linear ladder of good and not good enough, well and not well enough, better well, more well, enlightened, not enlightened but not enlightened enough, all of these things. And so it puts us as a culture even in a reality that says, I've got to compare myself to all of you to figure out where I'm at on this ladder. And so even in a spiritual world, this striving to be more or do more, or understand more, or have more experiences, to be more like that person who's teaching me, or any of those things, and to experience life the way she's experiencing it, without understanding that what we're doing is comparing ourselves to one another. Like it or not, that's what we're doing. And it builds a level of competition, and it absolutely does not support contrast in helping us understand more. If you look at this that they gave me, first thing I want to say, or that I was given to them, I told them years ago, and I know now it was given to me to do exactly what I'm doing, is that I said, I feel like I'm here and I've got to get here. It's so important that I follow through on this. It's why I'm alive. What I realize is getting here, being here and getting here, being here and getting here is not ascension. It's not ascension at all. It's expansion. And in that, when we go from being here and here and here and here, judgment, like again, comparing ourselves to one another. Years ago, I asked my guidance, what is it that sin is really all about? Because I have a very organically different experience around what I learned growing up in a Christian environment than a lot of other people do. And I, by the way, have a very close relationship with Christ. It is not the same that goes along with a lot of the narratives of a religion. I don't call myself religious at all. And I totally trust that there are good people in every sector you can come up with. So I won't get into that any further. But with that said, this consciousness thing is about growing and expanding. And it's not about growing up or down or leveling up or leveling down. There is nothing. The up-down does not allow for a proper form of natural organic soul expansion. If we are all light And I know that I was a vibrational being of light before I entered into this physical body. I remember creating the body. Yes, I do. I remember a whole bunch of stuff. And the reality is, what I said it felt like was taking this giant ball of light and then pushing it into this teeny tiny single wide trailer and saying, now figure out how to expand in this duality. Let's see what happens then. Let's try that. That's what the creative process is wanting to happen through me and so many of us. And that's what the collective consciousness is talking about, is you cannot make a move energetically. I don't care who you are or what you're doing or how badly you're behaving or how godly you're behaving. You cannot make a move that's not affecting the rest of us. We are energetically connected. And so to say you've got to go up or down is something, it literally fodder for the mind that will make you crazy. It doesn't fit into a holistic narrative for what's possible if you just go, oh, I just need to be who I am. And if I'm like this tree, then this tree just grows and spreads its branches. That's it. I just need to be who I am. I don't need to grow as a tree and look over at that tree and go, that tree's prettier, smarter, has more money than me, has more opportunities than me, got an easy ride in life, wasn't raped by their stepfather, wasn't put in a closet and beaten every day, wasn't told they were fat, wasn't told they were unworthy. That tree over there has it so much better than me. And in reality, that tree might really be enjoying their experience. But that tree's not sitting over there, and if they are, then they're not understanding the role they have. But I can tell you, the trees aren't bothered by each other. The role we have is to accept our journeys and to find a way to just be here in this moment, experiencing everything as if we'd never experienced it before. And I don't care if we've gotten up 4,000 days in a row and never had that feeling. There's a moment in every person's experience, and many moments, where we can just say, I'm ready to experience more expansion today. And when I do, I want to realize I did it. I just want to take a second and realize I did it. Even if it means I go right back to the old narrative, just start putting beams of light in my life that look like the stars that are in the galaxy, because I can promise you I've been in that space too. And I don't mean just me. I'm saying this for all of us that have had these experiences. Those stars, they're a part of this gig. They're alive. They speak to us. They vibrate with such amazing, amazing, amazing loving energy. I cannot tell you the experiences I've had, not on drugs, not on any kind of altering things, just on my own. And some people have to use other things to help them have those experiences or to support that. I am not negating anything we do that helps us understand that we are the beings of light that we hope to be, or that we wish were on this earth. We're them. If you want to call it Christ consciousness, well, guess what? Pretty much we're the second coming. And a lot of you already know that. But if you think that there's going to be, and take it out of that religious context, I just happen to be in the USA, where that happens to be a culture, one of the cultures of thousands and thousands. And it's just a matter of realizing that we're not ascending. We're not ascending. We're expanding. And if I got on a tangent, I would say I'm sorry, but I'm freaking not. I'm not sorry. I've been spending my whole life apologizing for who I am. And I went to a celebration of life for someone here that passed in our beautiful city yesterday. And I was like, there it is. He lived it wide open, unapologetically. And I've spent most of my life waving to loud planes and apologizing for being Leanne. Apologizing for knowing I'm love and light. Apologizing for making other people feel uncomfortable because I can't accept or I don't see things the way they see them. I don't follow their rules, because once I've had an experience, you can't take the experience away. You can't take moving from a belief to a knowing away from another human. And I've been afraid. That's all there is to it. I've been afraid. And for every human being walking this planet who might feel a little more at home and at peace with their experience because I said this today, then I did my job. And I'm going to keep doing my job. I got more to say. Yeah, whether I'm here another year or 3 months or a day or 3 years, it's a short ride. I can promise you that. And I'm going to stop hiding. So, to my friend Nancy in Michigan, thank you this morning for reminding me of who I am. To my friends Rich and Terry, who chose to make their transitions recently. We're going to talk about that soon since I now have your permission. Thank you for being with me. To all the beings on the other side who constantly share your insight, your intuition, your knowledge, your guidance, and I try to take it, and sometimes I resist. I'm sorry I resisted anything. I am wide open. Let's have it. Boy, we got some stories to tell. And to all of you, happy August. Is it 6th? It's Sunday. And I love you. And I'd really like to hear what you have to say about all this. Especially if it's nice. If it's not nice, I don't need to hear it. So just go yell about it to somebody else, okay? Other than that, I love you very, very much regardless. Namaste.